Welcome, Homeworthy. Come on in. I'm Stefania, and this is our home.
You're watching Homeworthy, where we believe every home has a story.
Hi, I'm Stefania. I am an artist and an interior designer. Welcome to my home. The way I found this home was a journey. I went to school in a nearby town, Poughkeepsie, which is about 20-30 minutes away, and I found a bartending job that was 15 minutes away north. And what I used to do, I would take my car and drive through Rhinebeck, and I would stop at the stoplight and I would look around and say, this is it. I was like, this is what life should look like. And it looked like a Hallmark movie to me, but in the real deal, in real action. I knew that I wanted to be here. I couldn't afford it. And I did what I could. I would drive around. I was a single mom. My baby would be sleeping in the back of my car, and I would drive and look for real estate. And every single time something came up with my budget, I would show up and realize it was completely inhabitable and unmanageable for me. So I bought another home. I took that home, I fixed it up myself and rented it, sold it, bought another home, fixed it up, sold it, met my husband, we had a baby, and then it was our time. So we started looking for houses and we found this house. And it was not exactly what we wanted, and it was over budget, but it had potential. So as every good daughter does, I called my mother. And I said, I need your help. Will you come take a look with me? And she did. She loved the house. And we got the house that we never wanted exactly, but was the perfect fit. So when I bought this house, it was the iconic 90s colonial house. Nothing that I personally vibed with. I wanted something rough, rustic, creative, and this was classically colonial. And it had these wonderfully arched windows and 90s staircase with complimentary wallpaper. It was done. Oh, and of course, it came with brass chandeliers. Not me. And travertine tiles, my goodness. Not at all what I wanted. Then the other thing it didn't have is that it didn't have a sense of history or a story to it. And for me, homes should be a story. Homes are not about fancy decor. They are really us as people and a collection of time and little objects that can describe us. Whether they're perfect or not, that's what homes are. So what I did when I first came into the house was the staircase was a little bit too grand for me. I wanted to scale that down. The travertine tiles didn't feel right for the area. And all the beautiful wallpapers that was a little dated to me. I started taking every layer out and I started grounding the house for the area. And then came the story. I didn't know this, and this was the most exciting part. Guess who owned this property before me? John Jacob Astor. I don't know if you know who that is, but he was one of the most wealthiest men in the 1900s. And wow, he owned, I think, almost 400 acres around here. And this once was his. And there was my story. Now, I didn't get John Jacob Astor's house. I didn't get his estate. I didn't even get the maid's house. But it's okay, I got the land. So here was the story. So I started bringing in these moments of what I thought history could feel like here, but in a contemporary way. So bringing in the classic panel windows, bringing in rough woods, bringing in finished woods, historical elements, and then historical elements that played on contemporary, because we're not fooling anyone. This is a contemporary house. Welcome to the entry of our home, the foyer, because it is very grand, or maybe not so grand. So when I first started this house, it had this amazing oak staircase and it didn't feel right. So what I did was we built it, Ben and I and our team built this staircase that wraps down and around and has these historical moments of being curved but still very modern and clean. I love animals, so you will see that there is a constant little flourish of whether they're real animals, because there's a lot of them, so something's always moving, or some stationary ones, and these are my sheep. And for the kids, I do like to dress them up for the hallways. My other favorite element here is this plant. I mean, you don't get to see plants usually this big in the household and in a home, and this plant did this on its own. And I love that this plant arches towards the sunlight, but it also arches to give you a hug as you walk in. One other little thing, when I did this hallway, so we did the original shape of the hallway and the foyer, I kept the same, but there's this one design, this arch, this corner here, this radius. And when I did this wall mirror here, I took this radius and I mimicked it to the wall mirror to have these repeating design elements, so it always felt cohesive. My first degree was in art, and I am an artist first and foremost. And that's where my heart is. And this isn't, I mean, this piece right here, these two pieces, because there's the butterflies and then there's this beautiful painting of this woman. And this is a local artist, Michael McGrath. And he is just, his colors are so beautifully poetic that I love how this harmonized all together and the story that it gives. And it feels so wonderfully, it feels like the kids could be in this and we could be in this painting at the moment. And then there's these butterflies that were handmade. I had them handmade on Etsy, and they curve up the staircase. I didn't want this to be a forgotten moment. So not only do they go up, but they go up the curve of the staircase. And then if you look upstairs, I did this with the kids. I was like, find the butterflies. So I tacked them in little places everywhere. So there's a painting all the way on top of the staircase. And this is one of my friends, Scott Ackerman. And this was such a personal piece to me. It's one of the shoots I did that, you know, we have career goals, and I reached my career goal with this shoot. It was such a huge success, and for me to be able to have that in my career, and that piece was a part of it. We did this interior, we shot it, we borrowed this piece of artwork from Scott, and the homeowners didn't want to buy it. And I was just like, we fell in love with it. I fell in love with it. And to remember this huge achievement in my career was Scott's piece. But then there's a background story for the Scott's piece. I've known Scott since high school, and my family and I loved his work so much that we bought one piece together. It's all we could afford. And we would trade it monthly between our homes to each have a piece of Scott's work. And then I was able to afford this piece on my own. And I love how this piece, I didn't realize this, but it does kind of look like it could have been a self-portrait of me, which is a little weird. But it also feels like she's part of our landscape. Whoever this is, it feels very natural to the home. As we come here, one of the things that I love to do for us and for our family is to find things that are not exactly perfect, but they lend to our story and they add humor. So when I show you around the furniture, it's not about being fancy furniture. It's not about who designed these. Yes, I know they're classics. I do this for a living, but it's not about that. It's about how we live in the space. And then it's unpredictable pieces like this quirky television. It's one of my all-time favorite pieces. And as we come in here, this is where, if we spend time as a family, it's really in this living room. And usually the two kids are here. There's usually almost always a cat there. This is my spot. I'm always here. And what I love about this chair is I got it in a thrift shop, which makes it extraordinarily special to me because it's about finding items. I love that I can sit here with both of my kids and my legs up and a cat in the back, and we're set. And usually there's a dog at my feet. We built this fireplace. It wasn't here in the beginning. It used to be one big arched window with two arched windows on either side. Not the style what I wanted. And it was too big. So what I used the fireplace to divide the two rooms. And there's two big things that I love about this space when it comes to the fireplace. Is one, that painting. It's Tyler Hayes. It's one of his pieces. And the reason I love it is that it looks like it could be the Rhinebeck River. And it could also play on what would classically be the Hudson River School art. So if anyone's an art geek with me, it's very exciting because that's true to the area, but it's a very modern interpretation. And then it has this bit of folk, and with the puzzle, it plays into the childlike quality of the home, which I'm always trying to bring in and have a bit of sense of humor. Here on the fireplace is the best dog we have. He came from a thrift shop. He always listens. You'd be surprised how good he is. On this, I did this, and I know it's not perfect, and I know it's quirky, but one year I wanted to make Easter special, and it wasn't about hiding plastic eggs in the house or outside. I created this whole moment of thrift shop finds, Easter bunnies, and I created this little forest landscape of these drawings. And the reason this is important to me is when I was a little girl in Queens, I had one window and it looked outside on a brick wall. But I got a window and a brick wall, so it's fine. But what I would do is I would take watercolors, and thank God my mother let me, and I would paint these vines going up. I mean, my window is really only like this big, but every day, every night, I would paint a new vine, and then I would erase it and scrape it off, and these were my vines. And this is how I lived in my imagination and survived as a child in Queens. So the sconces are really fun. You know, part of this, I mentioned, I like the humor. I like things that feel kid-like. I don't want it to feel like it's overly decorated. And these were really important to me because they're like stacked toys on top of each other as little building blocks. They were handmade by an artist in Turkey on Etsy, and I got them custom made, supersized, so it is cool to be custom. And he made these for me. He hasn't made them before, but he made them for me. And then I got these fantastic lampshades that were on Amazon for $20. And I think I love the juxtaposition of something being really high-end and just being like, that's cool, it's $20. One of the pieces that feel really important to me, so professional goals in my life, I guess people get awards or collections. Mine is collecting art. This is a piece that I've wanted for so long. I'm not even gonna be shy about it. Michael McGrath, he lives in town in Rhinebeck, and wow, look at this piece. It's so extraordinary. I've been obsessed with his work for a while, and we got to borrow one of them for one of the fancy shoots we did. And it was such a big thing where Ben pretended he was a fancy art handler, and we built a crate, we brought it down there. And at that point, I really wanted the piece to remember that shoot and the accomplishment, but I couldn't afford it. So I worked really hard, and there it is. And I love, it's not about being right. And this should theoretically have a whole wall behind it. It should theoretically be higher up, eye level. But I love that it's lower. I love that they feel like that this person could be in the space with us. It's childlike. And I like that it breaks the boundaries here. As your eye goes up, you have the painting over there. And then what else is happening? And as a designer, I'm always questioning how to break the boundaries. And when this was first a space, this was an oak banister, standard height, all the way across, and that room was open. And it just felt like it was just an unused space and a lot of oak on top of oak floors. So what I did was I built the plaster staircase, but then the plaster staircase was too solid and it needed to feel open. And I want the space to connect the way all the windows bring in the outside. I wanted the bedrooms and our upstairs private space to connect down here. So upstairs is Stefano's room, but I created these inset panels into the sheetrock, into the plasterwork. So you get these peepholes through the house, and you get miso and mochi up there so you can enjoy the fish tank from downstairs. Part of our family, and this is what makes home for me, is everyone that lives here. And it's not just our friends and our family, we're always hosting, but it is all our animals. We have 5 cats, 3 dogs, I don't know how many fish, at least 4 fish, 2 bunnies, one came home yesterday. We have 1 baby chick that is about this big who lives in the bathtub. They're not old enough to go outside yet. The bunnies live in the master bedroom. I know that's weird. And then Mater and Tater are 2 Kuni pigs that live outside. And then we have 7 ducks, which I'm trying to name after the dwarfs. The kids are not having it. And then there is 2 geese, Teddy and Mishek. The kids named them. But if you know kids, they change the names of animals all the time. This is the second living area. What I did here was I harmonized from one space to the other. So I wanted it to feel like they were connected and different. So I kept the sofas the same, but then I kept all of the furniture, little interesting pieces, if you may, with different fabrics. They're all collected with some handmade goods, some pottery, books, and then, some quirky elements, for example, the deer stools. But what I do like about this space and what I like about the whole home is that there's so many windows and so many doors that I can open this door and I can open that door and life just happens. And the outside really just comes in. And then we have kids and animals, and it just becomes this free circle of chaos, of everybody just running around, especially when you have young kids. They run around in circles, but that's what it's meant for. So the mix of chairs here was a very intentional, non-intentional collection. So this one, I'm always thrifting or looking at antique shops. This one comes from Hudson. I found that there. This is from Etsy, and these wonderful little pop chairs these are for 100% for the kids. These are 2 swivel chairs. They're not fancy. They're from Urban Outfitters, but aren't they great? And the kids spin around until they get dizzy and fall off. These are just sheer curtains with a little double pleat on top. Nothing really special, but what I love about this was I found this fabric by the yard on Etsy, and all I did was I cut it, I clipped them, and they were done. And this fabric was probably like $200 for all of these curtains and me and a pair of scissors. So the dining room is the anchor of the home after you come in. What makes this room so special to me is that we do live at this dining table. I know there's people who don't use their formal dining table. We have the breakfast nook there. But this space with all the chairs, it is filled. And every night we're either having dinner here or outside, and the candles are lit. And that is our special moment. This chandelier right here is really, really special. It is all selenite selenite crystals. And what makes this so beautiful to me is that you would normally maybe expect an opulent chandelier, gold or crystals, but it was, to me, everything was toning it down. And this chandelier is just giant chunks of selenite crystal, which anyone who's into spirituality has that. But what I love about it was that it always has this beautiful iridescent, unspoken brilliance to it, which is really beautiful. And then Margarito, Ben, it was such a feat to put up. It was 400 pounds. They had to redo the ceiling to do it, to support it. And I remember when we finally got it up, there was no dining table around it, and there was 6 of us with 5 giant boxes of crystals, putting up these crystals, doing these moments, like putting it up and then stepping back to see if it falls up. It luckily hasn't fallen off yet. It'd be a very different show. So these chairs I love them. They're anthropology. I just love the fantastic fabric and how it brings to the outside inside. And I love that they hug you when you sit. So the kids, honestly, they're a little low for the kids, but I don't mind. The kids sit on the arms and it is what it is. And we are always around here. When it came to this massive rug, so rugs you could either get a custom sized rug that feels very intentional and is very purposeful, and I didn't have the budget for that. So what I did is I found these rugs, and I really wanted vintage rugs, but I couldn't. Their space was so big that vintage rugs are usually not made this size, number one. Number two, it was so hard to get all of them to match. So what I did is I found these, and these are beautiful because they're leather, woven leather, so they age very naturally. And for this space, we took 2 9x12 rugs. That's how big this space is, which is crazy. 2 9x12 rugs, and you can even tell right here, me and Janina, we hand stitched them together and we called it done. Sitting at the dining room table, you come into our breakfast nook. So these original windows were here. All I did was add the grid pattern so it felt intentional. And we built this storage breakfast nook seating here. It doubles as toy area, it doubles as craft area, and with these wonderful pillows that you can sit on, be comfortable. Just a marble table that I pieced together. I found the bottom somewhere, I got the top somewhere else. And then the chairs, which vintage finds to me are always the most exciting. They were found in Brooklyn on Facebook Marketplace, and I love how heavy and worn in. They're not perfect, but they feel comfortable. And I like that we don't have to feel futzy about them, that if they get dirty, they just get a little dirty and more worn in. It doesn't have to be like I have to walk around with a stained pen or anything like that. How did I design this house? Let's first start with how did I not design this house? I wanted it to feel lived in and natural. So I brought in all these beiges and whites and browns, and I got all fancy designer, linen versus boucle. It was bland. It was bland. So I lived with that for 3 years. And one day I woke up, or it was already like piling up on me, where I was like, this isn't us. So I started bringing in these layers, and then I started bringing in the whole house and bringing in layers from outside and textures and fun things and stuff that I already had. Just a lot of it was just kind of stuffed in the basement or forgotten about because I tried to be so designer that I lost who we were. So I brought it back. It took me a little while, but I got there. Let's go check out the kitchen, leaving the breakfast nook. This is where all the action happens. And the kitchen was a massive undertaking because it is so big. And I wanted it to feel designer and feel very livable. So what I did here was I coordinated the kitchen. Originally there was a 4-foot wall that came here with ivy plants, and it had white and blue pink tiles in it and white kitchen cabinets that were laminate, not us at all. So I took all of that out and I designed the kitchen with my friend Nick D'Ambrosia. He built our kitchen cabinets for us, and I wanted it to feel very classic. I didn't want to get too like over the top designer, but it was about the materials. And there's 5 slabs of this material in here, and I looked for it. I could not find 5 slabs of this material. Finally did. I got it here. And then you know what made it really extraordinary? That I have good friends who do countertops, because most people won't do this as a single slab. This is literally 1 slab of marble that Jeff and Corda brought in here. And they brought it all the way from New York City, this size, and then there was about 7 people laying this down, because it's not even just about cutting it and bringing here. It has so much tension when the slab goes down that it could crack. And I remember the discussion happening where it was like, are you sure you want to take this risk? And I was like, yes. And we got it. We got it. And then the slab continues on the bottom, which was very intentional to me because the kitchen is the view from this whole side of the house. Then one other really big design moment for me as a designer was that the kitchen island cuts into the door. And you don't normally do that as a designer. You should, follow the rules. It should stop here and make sure you have room for your chairs. But I intentionally wanted it to float into the space. One, it was really big. What else was I going to do with it? Number two, I wanted it to feel, again, like the outside is connecting in. So what I did is I did stop the leg at the door, as I'm supposed to do as a designer, but I let it overhang here and let the chairs float. And these are just, honestly, these are restaurant chairs. I think you can go into any restaurant anywhere and you will find these chairs. These were bar chairs. We cut them. They're not that fancy, but we live in them. So this area right here, styling decor, we live here. As much as I want to do styling decor, we're a family of 5. 2 kids, Janina lives with us. These get used. Even this weird duck right here, things get used. This gets used. This gets used. Everything, this is every single day potware that gets, the older it gets, the better it gets. And that was very intentional. So whenever I bought, look at all this stuff. These are old French bowls. These are, everybody who knows the cabbage set. I mean, these are from a vintage shop. They're amazing. Okay, we might not use these, but they're cool. But all of these elements, they're old. They're intentionally to be old. And the older they get, the better they get. And that's something throughout the whole house. Even if you look here, these stack of cutting boards, you come into this area, I'm going to say it's worn. The paint is not perfect. The cabinets, the teapot, it's burnt. But that's what home is. And that's what really resonates to me, that this teapot has been with me for probably 10 years, and it only gets better with time. My favorite ever space, and I knew this the day we finished the house. It was the first thing I did. I will always do these first when I move into the house. It is the garden. It's my happy place. It is surrounded by the chicken coop and where the pigs live. And if you see me anywhere, it will be outside barefoot with a cup of coffee, hopefully picking flowers or veggies. I love landscapes, I love gardens, and especially being in a small town in a rural area, having everything's already available for inspiration. I didn't have to go far. The other inspiration was the history of Rhinebeck, John Jacob Astor, and then my family and their awkward, quirky, sometimes off-color personalities. One of the things that feels really important to me is having not just vegetables, is flowers as well. I know people get very specific, especially us very fancy designers, but to me it's about, it just doesn't matter. It's okay. And our flowers and our veggies get all mixed together. Sometimes a watermelon grows in here, you know what, and it's great. So come on in. I wanted this to feel historic and true for the area. I know I got a contemporary house, but I'm on Astor Estate. So I did a water fountain, of course, because you need one of these, right? And this greenhouse where we come in here, we'll have snacks in here, but really it's me working in the garden, picking fresh vegetables from the day. These were harvested today. This old farmhouse sink I found on the street in New York City. And oh my God, I got it in my Toyota Prius about 15 years ago. Our dried fruits and veggies, these are going into seed next year. It's always a story. And then when we come in here, it's the flowers that come back and back. And we have cosmos and whatever it may. But really what it is, it's having the children be here. This is my grounding space. Okay, are you ready? This is so much fun. You get to meet the babies. So the kids, if they were here, and we know Stefano always tells you the truth of what's happening, there is this ongoing joke in the family that I may love the pigs more than the kids. Maybe. So come on, let's meet them. This is Mater and Tater's Mud Spa, and they are asleep. It's a hot day, but what they do, look, we do keep mud for them. They take mud baths there. We have food, and this is their space. Usually 9 a.m., they're literally at the front door. 12 p.m., sleep, and then they get a little, like 5, 6, they get frisky. After this, we have the duck pond and this beautiful weeping willow. We planted this. It's always fun to see things grow and see how they change. So these ducks are babies. I mean, I brought them home maybe 2 months ago. I have to look at the date. I think it was Memorial Day. I brought them home and they were little babies. And they're all grown up. And these are our geese. And then, of course, they need a fabulous home, right? So the chicken coop, but we only have one chicken that lives inside. So please enjoy the irony of that. But here is the duck goose coop. Of course, it's going to be fabulous. We actually use it. They sleep inside. Well, one of the things that I find very personal to me was when I first started my company, I wanted to be a landscaper and hands-on. And my first business card was 5 tools with my company name underneath it. And I didn't realize I did this intentionally, but I was like, where do I put my tools? And I hung them up, and I've been collecting these feathers, and then all of a sudden I blinked, and this was my original business card. So it felt really cool, and it's a little Dutch door. So the babies, they come in stages. So usually when they're little babies, they move into different sections and go out into the world. When we first came here, the front yard was barren, Great American Lawn. This was barren except for those 3 maples and the perimeter. And then we had this one small swimming pond that was maybe a 10-foot circle. And oh my God, did we put time into it and so much effort. So what we did is we made a natural swimming pond. And this is not because we wanted it. I'm not even gonna pretend. We wanted a fancy swimming pool. And thank God it didn't work out. But what we did is we excavated it out. We laid it with stone. The water comes in naturally, and then we have a natural filtration system that the pool cleans itself, but it's completely natural. The kids live in here. And this landscape, it was intentionally left as long grass with paths. The other thing I did was I did the deck. And that was a big part for me because how we live outside. We live outside. So I designed the deck to cover the whole side of the house because honestly, I couldn't think of anything better to do. It's a lot of deck. And if you come here, this is our everything spot. This is it. We sit here for every meal pretty much during the summer. Even when it's raining, we have these fantastic sails. These tables can be made into one long one for more of a formal function, but usually we're just sitting out here. The grill, there's a fridge. It's not fancy. It's really just about the kids being soaked from the swimming pond, coming in, veggie hot dogs, doesn't matter. The neighbors come over. It's an open invite. Okay, are you ready to go upstairs? Come on, let's go. So upstairs are all our bedrooms, and this is our family space where we can hide from all the chaos. When you first come upstairs, you have a grand view of everything. It's to me, a very big house. It feels sometimes a little too big. But what I try to do here is see the peeps. This is what makes it exciting to me. I love this glass. I love how this painting now becomes the painting from here. And I love the cactus and these 70s acrylic chairs that were found on eBay that I drove 8 hours to go get, probably too long. And then we did this awesome curve here. And then, the 90s window platform. I have no idea why anyone would have ever put that there, but we kept it. And that was one of the questions of like, do we keep it? What do we do with it? And it just became a fun space for now. It is an extension of Otto's room, which is over here. It brings in these paintings, and I took this color and mimicked it into these funky chairs. There's a TV, because everybody needs a TV with a fish tank. And then you have the view of the gardens and all the plants. And then look, there's a kite. Coming from the landing, we have Stefano's room. And Stefano, was the catalyst to find us in our home again. And this room, Stefano picked out the theme. Stefano showed me photos and showed me what the mood was going to be. So I made this happen. We painted the walls pink and then decorated it, all the happy sayings, the books, the oversized couch, which probably shouldn't be in here, but it still is, and then the bed. And this was a really big moment where Stefano had to have a canopy bed, but then I wanted it to feel very soft and delicate. So I took these curtains and I hand sewed every single bow on there, because you can tell it's all mismatched. I got there though, it worked out. But we got this whole room put together and Stefano had no idea. So Stefano came home and I was trying to do the reveal, you know how you see it on TV, and I was like, close your eyes. Fail. The second Stefano knew that the room was ready, she bolted up the stairs and flew on the bed. You already knew, didn't you? So the light fixture, I mean, we know lighting is a big deal. And this, okay, so when this was originally in the house, I think this was like an office. So this just had the oak banister going around it and it had 4 lights because it was an office. So what we did is we put a center fixture in, and that light was bought for another job and the homeowners didn't like it. And this is kind of how I end up with things. And they become part of our space, but it is a floss light fixture. And what feels really beautiful about it is that if you look at it, it has the bows and the gardens from outside. It becomes very simple and delicate. So as we leave Stefano's room, we are gonna go back into this room. And I do wanna highlight this. Stefano made this. So most of our flowers come from us, and Stefano by themselves made this arrangement, and it was just such an exciting piece because as we're running around trying to make sure everything's perfect, Stefano, and we're really meticulous about our floral arrangements. Stefano did this in 20 minutes. I can work for hours trying to mimic this, and Stefano just got it. Then we did these little vintage finds, which I think is hysterical. I have no idea what this is. Lip gloss, which is always important. Never leave home without it. One of the other elements that makes this really cool is this is a thing. I can't tell you what kind of thing it is. It's a famous psychologist from back in the day, and they made these therapeutic animals for therapy for kids. And I thought it was just really awkward and funny. So it now lives here. Then part of having all of the animals in the house, whether they're live or mimicked, was brought here. This is an artist from Japan. I found him on Etsy. It's one of his pieces. Look, he named it Meow. And then Stefano's nickname is Mishek, which is bear. And then I found this in a thrift shop, which I thought was really hysterical. And the kids can put it on and run through the house and have fun in any which way. When we leave this space, we go into Otto's room. Now, Otto may be the most colorful of all our people in this home. Otto is 4 years old and just a big personality. Part of this room is these wonderful accents. I love this wallpaper and this light fixture, and all of it mimics the sense of nature. And these, it's so interesting for a child. I remember being a child in Queens, and I think, as I told you, I would draw my windows, but I had, lavender walls, which were nice, and I had oak furniture, but I always created these pictures around in my head, and I wanted it to feel very encompassing for both of the children. So I chose this wallpaper as if the birds were flying in. Otto loves dinosaurs. I'm gonna let Otto, this is Bonky. If it was up to me, he might not really live here, but it's okay. One of the things that I love, and I would highly encourage anyone to do this, is to use and let their children be artists. And on this wall, we have all of Otto's hard work This is the last year of his work. But what I love about this wall is not that just Otto did it, but is that he can constantly redo it. And this is part of one of the things. He'll take the prints off the wall and look, they're magnets. So he'll come in here and it'll be hysterical, but sometimes he'll bring in like an 11-inch by 14-inch piece of paper and staple it on with the magnet. But it's his wall and he can curate it. And it makes it really fun for all of us. From Otto's room, I always want a special place. So Stefano has the little window glasses. Otto has what my mother refers to as the office. So please enter Otto's office. This is the queen of the house. This is Dumpling. I did these fun shapes here with these acrylic stacked toys, which I think are really fun because they're not heavy and the light can pass through them, but they always feel like they feel truthful for a child to be in here. And these fun vintage chairs that Otto can sit in here. His fish right there is a beta.
His name's Tree Stump.
Of course, because shouldn't every fish be called Tree Stump? It's fine. I was like, do you not want to name it like a fishy name?
And this Otto on his food.
Oh yeah, and this is the nice part. This is where I feel very grand and very like we belong in Rhinebeck was when I redid the landscape. And you can really see it here. The pats and the greenhouse and the bungalow and the chicken coop. It feels very historic to me, even though it's not. On our way to the primary bedroom is our family art, which is, there's two things here that I love. Stefano made these. Do you remember making these?
Yes.
Okay, so Stefano took these popsicle sticks, went in the garden and attached flower petals, and then walked through the house with these two, both of them, and made these amazing little figurines. But Stefano made it at the age of 3, which was even like, how does a child do this? Well, I guess the child makes floral arrangements like that too. The next thing we did, the next thing that's very important to me, when I started my career, I had no idea what I was doing. I was not an interior designer, I was an artist. And I found these beautiful pieces of art and I put them into one of my designs. And the shoot got picked up by someone, it hit Instagram. I didn't know who the artist was. And guess what? The artist found me on Instagram and was like, oh my God, that's my work. And they could have been really angry about it, except they weren't. And we became friends. And it took me about maybe 8 years to get one of these pieces. And this is Yasmin's work, but very cool. And I love this. Look, it's that butterfly and the nature. And I love that it's so sunny because it should be a dark area. But it feels like every time, honestly, this piece to me, I see more often and it fits my mood. It sets my mood for the day. So this is the primary bedroom. When we first got it, it honestly looked like this, except those arched windows, they were two separate ones. I combined them and they were in the living room. And I am way too Eastern European to waste a good thing. So I brought them up here and they're not perfect. They're a little mismatched. You should have your windows match perfectly, but I like it. And I like that they're like a cathedral. Okay, stop everything. Do you know who this is? Look, who's this?
Nutella.
It's Nutella. So Nutella came from a farm yesterday. And Nutella is what kind of bunny? A fuzzy bunny.
No, Mama.
Sorry, I'm good at this. Gingor. We got there. So we adopted them yesterday.
From my camp.
From your camp, and it's a farm. But what you also don't know is that there's another bunny that lives in here. And Nutella's soon-to-be best friend, they don't know each other yet, is Chiro. And Chiro's most likely underneath the bedroom waiting for us to get out so Chiro can eat the flowers. I did the bed, it was low, it was supposed to be low, that's what you do as a designer. I did the floor lamps and it was such a big room, it lost our personality. So after I did it, I had Ben and Margarito, my husband and Margarito, who's been working with us for years. And one of the big things was to redo this cocoon chandelier. And this to me is amazing. I don't use that word lightly. I know people use it all the time, but it's so cool. It's cocoons. And someone in Thailand, I wish I could remember his name offhand, he took a wire and put a needle through and hand wove every single one of them and built the cage. And part of lighting is not just lighting lit, it's the shadows at night. And there's these amazing little bubbles. I used amazing twice. You can clearly tell I like this. The bed, I did oversized pillows. And I needed it too because I felt like I just needed the room to feel cozier. I brought in pattern and fun. And I played on the sense of like plaid, maybe historical, but new. Okay, here we go. This is Sunny. So Sunny, you can put Sunny in the bed. Sunny was born on my husband's birthday. And I know, judge me for what you will. It is awkward and weird, but amazing. But Sunny loves us. And it's the only one. So we had 5 eggs that were incubating, and Sunny was the only one who made it. On this side of the room, I love this piece, and things that get collected is this piece and this tree. And when it started, it was this little tree, and it's massive. And that to me is like, you have good energy in your home if you can have plants that exist to this size. This chair came from a job in the city. Bonnie and Mike, I think you're going to find out now. I took your chair, but it needed a good home. You said it was fine, but here it is. And I love this chair. It gets well lived. Oh my God, and this is Mike's book. So that's cool. And then there we have a couch, and this is for us for Ben and I mean, we have 2 kids, we have full-time jobs, we have careers, and it's just to be able to come in here and sit down and be able to just have a bit of silence is really important. And when you come to this side of the room, so I've collected these frames. I think they're really fun. It feels like they're floating. I always like a little bit of grounding moments. I bought that for Ben. But then comes the art. And these pieces to me are always very significant career-wise. But I love this painting because it feels as we choose what we carry. And it's symbolic to me and my family, not being cheesy, but we can choose the baggage that we carry and how we symbolize it. And I love that. This should feel personal since it's my bathroom, but it's really not. Because what happens, come on in, is everybody's in here all the time. Every animal that has once come home into this house has lived here. And whether it was 2 baby geese that lived in the bathtub for way too long and Ben was upset, to the ducks, to the rabbits, they all end up here. Sunny is here. And when Ben finally gets to a point where he says, I want our bathroom back, the kids come live in here and we have family pool time. So if I could recommend anything, it is really awesome to have a tub this big. Literally all 4 of us can get in, but it's usually me and the kids. The backstory of my design career is a long one because I always knew I wanted to be a business owner. I always was an artist. I'm an artist first, and I went to college for art. And then I did fashion because I realized I couldn't pay the bills being an artist. And then I realized that fashion is fashion, and it wasn't for me. So I did interior design, but through the years, I always did bartending and construction, because anyone who knows how, if you're in the art industry and you didn't grow up with help or a silver spoon, you have to work your way up. And it was a gift. The hard times were what made me better, but I did construction. So I learned how to work with the bones of the house and how to build them directly myself, hands-on. Bartending taught me how to multitask. And then when I first started my career, I actually was a landscaper. And that was my first pure love, but that, it didn't work. Thank God it didn't work out. But when it comes down to being an interior designer, I think I always had it and I was always that. So from the foyer, we have our TV room. So when you come in here, it is dark, it is moody, it is intentionally moody. The reason is that this room only has that one window over there. I wasn't fooling anyone. It was going to be dark and moody, so I really leaned into it. What I ended up doing was bringing in light accents so it didn't feel like a cave. God, I even made it darker. I put a big leather couch in front of it. So maybe I could have worked a little bit better with it, but this becomes a spare room if we need to. The doors can get closed and this folds out into a king bed. But for daily living, this is where the kids run downstairs when they're not supposed to watch TV and they turn on the TV. Ugh. So I try to unplug it, don't tell them, but I say it's broken. So that's my trick. But this is family time on an easy night. If someone needs like 30 minutes of TV, this happens. Or if we're hosting and there's a lot of people will come in here and like watch the game or something like that. What I love about this room is two things. I do love this. This was Facebook Marketplace. Ben is my hero when it comes to things and ideas that I do. And I was like, we need a faux fireplace in this house. I know we have a real one, but this room needed it to me. So Facebook Marketplace, and you know what Ben did? He drove 4 hours in traffic to go get it for me. So we did that. And then I spray painted that neon green, clearly the right thing to do. Here is these pieces. I bought these for Ben for his birthday. It is a friend of ours. And these are very Ben. He loves vintage cars and he loves watches. So he got that for his birthday from me this year. So this is one of my favorite spaces because it was a completely forgotten space. It is an awkward, a low, dark basement. And guess what? It's fantastic. So what I did is I painted everything red, even the ceilings, and I made this space a movie theater. And I didn't like that the kids just kept watching TV and not thinking about it. So I wanted movies to be an art, projector screen, popcorn machine, couch, and then I designed it as a speakeasy, Lower East Side dive bar, down to the cheesiest fireplace you ever could find, and these awesome pieces of art. That's a Polish artist. He paints them in Poland, but they're about American landscapes, which I thought was very spot on and interesting for this space. And then we, of course, threw it into an extra bedroom, a little kitchen space, and then it opens up to our orchard. If someone walks into my house, I want them to feel like they've already lived here. I want them to feel like they can put their feet up on a sofa. I want them to feel like they can walk into the refrigerator and grab whatever they want. And I want them to feel like they are part of our family. What does home mean to me? It means us. It means love. It means a story. It means us being together. And this is just a shell. It's a very lovely shell, but all the pieces here are what make us a family, and that's what's important to me.
Thanks for watching. Be sure to go to homeworthy.com for exclusive content, shopping guides, and so much more.